got to get back on the top. Give it to him!
Last game of the season at RFK Stadium. Maybe the last game in a Redskins uniform for Mark Rippon, who expects to be traded. But Dennis Green and the Vikings were hoping it wasn't their last game. They knew that with a win, they were in the playoffs. And Chris Carter almost got them in for the opening score on this nice catch in the first half. The Redskins held Scotty Graham to short yardage all day, but a yard was all he needed to put the Vikes up 7-0. The Redskins kicked 3 field goals to keep it close, but in the second half, it was Jim McMahon to Chris Carter again for the big gain, and Jim McMahon to Anthony Carter for the score that clinched a playoff spot for the Vikes and capped a miserable season for the Skins. And the Vikings knew that they'd be playing the loser of the game everyone had been waiting for, a battle for the NFC East and home field advantage between Dan Reeves' Giants and Jimmy Johnson's Cowboys. And the defending Super Bowl champs dominated the first half, or rather Emmitt Smith did. Here he is capping a 10-play drive with a touchdown catch to make it 10-0 Cowboys in the second quarter. Smith had 151 yards in the first half alone, 109 of them rushing. This 46-yarder set up a Dallas field goal, but at a cost, Emmitt landing on his shoulder and suffering a sprain. Down by 13 at the half, the Giants needed a big play to get back into the game. He got it when Kevin Williams tried to field this partially blocked punt, and Marcus Buckley recovered. 11 plays later, Jared Bunch went over from 1 yard out to make it 13-7. David Treadwell field goal pulled the Giants within 3. As time ran out, he lined up again.
Treadwell's kick is good. It's 13-13.
Into overtime, and whatever Emmitt's alley rate is, he earned it. Despite the intense pain, he shouldered 9 of the Cowboys' 11-play drive into field goal position.
With 16 left in overtime, Eddie Murray wins it for Dallas.
Being a competitive person, want to win, want to do everything in my power to help this team win and get back into the playoff and hopefully do well there. I wanted to play.
Pittsburgh needed a win and help from other teams to make the playoffs. They weren't getting any from their AFC Central rivals, Cleveland. First half, Vinny Testaverde lobs one up for Mark Carrier, who snatches it away from Rod Woodson, then stays on his feet to set up a field goal. In fact, it was all field goals in the first half, as the Steelers led 9-3. But in the third, Pittsburgh finally found the end zone. Neil O'Donnell, 14 yards to Eric Green. Bill Cowell got his defense fired up for a last stand, and they held on in the final seconds to keep Pittsburgh in the picture. For Miami, it was simpler. A win, and they were in, but winning has been far from simple for Don Shula lately. His team had lost 4 straight, and they fell behind 10-0 to the Pats on this pass from Drew Bledsoe to Ben Coates. New England led 17-10 in the fourth, until Darryl Malone blocked Mike Saxon's punt. Miami recovered, and Scott Mitchell tied the game on a 9-yard touchdown pass to Mark Ingram. The lead changed twice more in a wild finish. Nothing was stranger than this dying swan pass from Mitchell that somehow found its way to Ingram. That set up a last-second field goal from Pete Stoyanovich, and the third game of the final week was heading into overtime. No winning field goals for the Pats, though. Bledsoe to Mike Timpson clinched their 4th straight win, and amazingly put Miami out of the playoffs.
Having the season that we had going for us and then not being able to win, especially these last 2 weeks, when we knew we had to win to clinch and not being able to do it, it's a disappointment that we're going to have to live with.
The Lions and Packers already knew they'd be playing each other in next week's wildcard round. This game was to decide where, the air-conditioned Silverdome or the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Edgar Bennett opened the scoring for Green Bay, taking a screen pass in 39 yards, the last few of them airborne. Then, though, Brett Favre fell into his old habits, throwing the ball up for grabs when he'd be better off taking the sack. Ray Crockett made the interception and ran it back to the Packers' 22. 2 plays later, Eric Lynch, still subbing for the injured Barry Sanders, leveled the score. Then it was record time for Sterling Sharp.
Clark gets some time, goes to Sharp. Sharp has the first down. And has now broken his own record for catches in one season, 109.
Favre, though, was the difference between these teams, and not in the way the Packers wanted. He threw 4 interceptions, including this one to Pat Swilling. Eric Kramer, on the other hand, was solid at quarterback for the Lions, and this 8-yard pass to Rodney Holman ensured that Detroit will host next week's wildcard game as NFC Central champions.
we have to get some respect, and I don't think Detroit respects that now. And, I just think that we need to come here next week and be real aggressive and come out and try to win the game.
For a team like the Green Bay to come in real cocky and confident that they can beat us, you know, that's great, too, to send them home with a loss.
The Jets went into the Astrodome Sunday evening knowing results elsewhere had left the door open for them to sneak into the playoffs. But Houston took an early 14-0 lead behind backup quarterback Cody Carlson. And with the opposition not putting up much of a fight, the Oilers coaches turned on each other. Defensive coordinator Buddy Ryan and Kevin Gilbride, his offensive counterpart, have never been the best of friends. But after a play that led to a fumble in the first half, they actually came to blows. Not a bad right hook for a 59-year-old from Buddy Ryan. After that, though, the Oilers channeled their aggression more productively. The defense had 6 sacks, and Gary Brown, going over 1,000 yards in only 10 games, finished off a shutout, which shuts the Jets out of the playoffs. In the other Week 18 action, the Bills tied up home field advantage by hammering the Colts on their home turf. Albert Lewis's touchdown on a blocked punt sent the Chiefs into the playoffs on a winning note. Eric Martin's 54-yard touchdown reception helped the Saints over the Bengals. By then, they'd already been eliminated. Jerome Bettis finished his rookie season with over 1,400 yards rushing, second only to Emmitt Smith, as the Rams beat the Bears. And San Diego beat the Bucs on the road in a game with no playoff implications. Just job security for 2 head coaches on the line in Atlanta, where Gary Clark's great one-handed grab helped Phoenix to a win. Tonight, the 49ers look to head into the playoffs with a win as they take on the Eagles. So here are the season's final standings. Dallas win the NFC East over the Giants after that classic in the Meadowlands to get home field advantage and a week off. 3 teams make it in from the Central, with Detroit showing there is life and offense without Barry Sanders by holding on to win the title. The 49ers are the sole representatives from the West, and there'll be some pointed questions asked in Atlanta and New Orleans after their disappointing seasons. In the AFC East, Buffalo are on course for Super Bowl number 4. The big shock was the Dolphins' nosedive from 9-2 to 9-7. Houston went the other way from 1-4 to 12-4, the third best winning streak in history to take the Central. And 3 qualify from the West. Many people's picks the Chargers, not among them. So next week, Pittsburgh will go on the road to Kansas City, while the Broncos have to go back to LA to play the Raiders. Houston and Buffalo have the luxury of a week off. In the NFC, there's the Packers-Lions rematch in Detroit. The Vikings have to play the Giants on the road, while the Cowboys and 49ers spectate. So next week, the playoffs begin, and for the first time in 3 seasons, Joe Montana will be there. So will we. Join us on the road to the Super Bowl next Sunday evening.
American football. Sponsored by Budweiser.